Welcome back to the Yanzhou campaign. Last time we tried to break our way into one of Liu Bei's forts, but unfortunately failed, didn't bring enough bolts. Then we mostly focused on a number of battles around the city of Qianliu, which we're trying to steal from the Cao clan. We had one mixed battle outside the city walls, then a victory when some nearby armies came over to try and push us away, and then finally we did a siege draw-out and got the territory we were looking for. We're back on the Cao front to start off with this time because I noticed we've got another perfect siege draw-out opportunity. Xu Chang, the Cao clan's capital, has a small group standing outside it, and it itself is only lightly garrisoned. I'm going to send pretty much everything from Qianliu and just leave it very ungarrisoned, probably subject to rebellion, but that doesn't matter if we can get a siege draw-out going because this will be quite important. The situation looks good. There is a third army down and to the left that can potentially get involved here, but I can use a night attack to count them out of the battle, making things look nice and easy for us. There's just one problem. The game doesn't want us to go for this fight. It's had enough of our exploit antics. I tried various things to get it working again, restarting the machine, opening and closing the game a bunch of times, opening and closing different other programs. But unfortunately, whatever combination I tried, I just couldn't get this thing to happen. Here's my last attempt with a complete reset of everything I could possibly find, and bang, it's still giving us this glitch. So we move on. This, by the way, is just before I installed the large memory patch that someone recommended, which in theory will get rid of these errors, and I haven't had one after this yet, so maybe it worked. I wish I'd had it before. As you can see, we went on to allow the Cao clan to just have their turn with no draw-out. However, they did leave their turn with an army still standing outside of Xu Chang, so all hope is not lost. The Liu clan are coming at us right now. They've finally given up on just walking up and down in their territory, and a big army is invading us at Juiyang. We've got various armies to the south that should be able to react to that. As for the rest of their movements, there is nothing significant. So there's the big army. It's a full stack by the looks of things, and we don't know much about it. They've got 4 rams and will probably take the city in this turn if we don't counterattack them. I'm going to have to put something together from these various groups down here, but before we look at that, I wanted to come back to Xu Chang since I'd seen that a siege draw-out would still be possible, and I really wanted to go for it. So here we are, doing the same strategy as before, only this time the enemy armies are more powerful, so it's not quite as easy. Still, their force is split between 2 groups, giving us the chance to fight them separately as long as things don't get dragged out for too long with this first fight. They sent some horse archers at us. I've got loads of foot archers, so that's fine, but the enemy stopped moving just after my first volley, so most of the arrows and bolts landed short of them, annoyingly. Still, we have such an overwhelming advantage that a skirmish here will work out just fine for us, and we've soon defeated those horse archers. Then they come at us with some melee cav, and I'm trying now to pull my men back behind the line. It's another one of these moments. Going to push the line forwards at the same time to see if we can intercept those cav. We in theory could have done it there, it's just that the guys who were being charged at were particularly slow about moving away, and they did still get charged, but it wasn't an absolute disaster like it usually is. My cav are going to go round to the right to be uphill and on the flank of the enemy, while my very scant melee troops form up to deal with the enemy's melee troops. The enemy were pretty slow about advancing right here, which was nice, gave me lots of time to prepare things, including this. Once the enemy's melee troops look like they've gone for a fight, we can hit all of the archers with the heavy cav and annihilate them. For some reason, my archers were not performing very well in this fight. I was trying to get them to take out the second group of archers on the enemy's rear right, but for whatever reason they were still alive a while later, so I came over here to check what was going on, and it turns out that they were just pretending to fire the whole time, that classic archer trick. So that's why they weren't inflicting damage on the enemy and making this take longer than I thought it would. Also, the enemy's reinforcements have now arrived. I was pretty distracted and almost didn't notice it. The good news is that the leading part of their reinforcements came up to us and then ran back to go and rejoin the infantry. So no initial fight happens over there, and we are able to finish off the first army and start reforming. There goes the captain of the first army. Everything else is routing away as our cav just annihilate the surviving archers, which was all that was left. Meanwhile, you can see at the back there, we formed up, ready to fight again. We are pretty low on melee troops here and very strong for ranged troops, which is good right now since some skirmishing took place. The enemy had more horse archers and other units that just sat around in archer range while forming up, which was great. We hit them with as many arrows as we could, but eventually they are going to charge at us and we'll just have to try and do something with our tiny melee units. Here, there's not much we can do to avoid this cavalry charge. My archers are far too slow to get out of the way. All I can do is absorb the charge and then use my own cav to counter-charge. At the other end of the line, something went quite well because the enemy general decided to charge headlong into our pike walls. That's what we like to see. So the most dangerous enemy unit has been taken care of. Now my own heavy cav will sweep around to take out the enemy's archers, and my archers can just run around being generally useless. At this point, our objective is not only to defeat the enemy, but to completely defeat them, of course, because this is a siege draw-out. That means we need to focus on setting up for rear attacks so that when the enemy try to escape, they simply can't. Most important when dealing with their cavalry. Soon everything is routing after our envelopment is complete. The infantry are easy to take down, of course. We need to make sure, though, that we kill Cao Ren, the enemy commander. We haven't done it when the battle initially ends, so let's keep going. He's in there with a small group, and I thought I'd have him there since he's so surrounded. However, he actually escapes himself. All of his guards die. You can see him there getting away with the flag on his own. If he escapes the map, the siege draw-out will fail because he'll return to the city on his own and count as occupying it. You can see I'm using some reserve cav to try and cut him off rather than giving an attack order, since attack orders don't lead the target and will end up being behind him. And fortunately, this is enough to catch him before he escapes. He's down, and with that the entire enemy army is effectively gone. We can exit the battle. Pretty decent result there, and we've got the result that we need in that everything that's inside Xu Chang is gone, or at least it is now that I've executed their troops, including the execution of Cao Ren, who would have been a very high value ransom indeed. In we walk then. Xu Chang is captured, the Cao clan's power base and capital is gone, and with that their ability to recruit units will be severely damaged, their ability to make money as well. And while they do have lots of territories left, surrounding us on three sides here, this hopefully signals the downfall of our main opponent. I thought that this time they really would want a ceasefire, but no, they're still determined to keep fighting, which means we might as well hang around and take some territory, although we'll have to control public order for the next couple of turns, so not that much is going to happen. Now it's time to engage Zhou Sang's army besieging Zhuiyang. I've got our main force under Gao Xun coming from the south with a reinforcement group from the nearby small army and city helping out. The balance bar looks surprisingly good considering the enemy's numbers, and it's just because the enemy army isn't very good. They've got loads of peasant type troops which are easy to rout. They spent a long time forming up in front of us, and I should have been firing at them with my ballista this whole time, but I didn't realise it's off fire at will by default, so I didn't start firing until they'd just about finished forming up and didn't do all that much damage. There wasn't much of a skirmish, the enemy just charged right at us, and this time I'm nice and early giving the order for the archers to withdraw, and it looks like they are going to get away. Again, we see some variability in their reaction time, but it is happening, and we managed to draw some of the enemy's cav onto the front of our spear line, just what we need. Loads of them get killed right away. On the other end of the line things aren't quite so good because they go around the edge of my spear line. We've got too many archers, our archer line is wider than the spear line, so there our general with his heavy archers gets hit, taking heavy casualties despite their armour. We're able to escape and use our own cav to deal with the enemy cav, and now a massive wave of peasant infantry is going to crash against our ranks. We don't have that much infantry, but it's just a lot better, so it's not going to be a huge problem to face down these peasants, especially from the front. Soon reinforcement units start to arrive, like this general coming from our backup army, and he can make a not especially good rear attack on these peasants, and that's going to be all we need to clear them out. At the same time, our other melee units have just straight up beat the peasants in melee and got them routing. You don't have to kill very many of them to make them retreat, and then you can just slaughter them as they go. So overall, the main melee was extremely short, pretty much missed it, and we won resoundingly. So now the battle's going to become a lot more freeform, since all of their more professional units like the archers need to be attacked more to convince them to leave. So now I'll be microing all over the field trying to get our cav to bring the enemy down. Same thing with our own archers. Our additional reinforcements arrive at this point, the ones controlled by the AI. This is the army inside the city, which I gave to the AI thinking it might actually arrive and do some good, and it finally did, getting some heavy cav in against those archers. That's what we like to see. Really, we just chased them around and eventually killed them. The only bit of drama was when some of the enemy's yellow turban troops came back into the fight after most of our army had left and were threatening our ballista crew here. I turned the ballistas around, and this gave me a chance to see the ballistas in action and see how much damage they can do to infantry. We get the supporting units to break out of the way, so we've got a clear line of sight, and we open fire. And I don't think it did that much. Maybe we killed like 1 or 2 guys there. Didn't look like it. Maybe we even missed. I couldn't quite tell. I was hoping it would just blast through the unit and kill like 10 guys with each shot. But anyway, they routed at this point and the battle ends. A resounding victory, nearly a 10-to-1 ratio. We absolutely annihilated Xu Chang, so Liu Bei's offensive capabilities have now been severely damaged. We'll execute all of those captives to make sure it's permanent, and now the initiative on this front is ours again, because if they want to attack us, they'll leave themselves undefended, and we have the numbers, so we can hold off their attacks for a while and just send someone else to attack them. Things are starting to look good again here. After very uneventful Cao and Liu turns, the opportunity for some counterattacks arises. Here you can see at Jiangchun, the big army that was inside appears to have split, and now a large portion of it is outside the city walls doing nothing. Just the ideal scenario for a siege draw-out. I think they're trying to draw out a siege draw-out from me or something. So I start putting together a force to do this. However, I make a fairly large mistake. For whatever reason, I decide to muster the army for the attack right next to the army that I need to attack. In later games this would be fine, but it doesn't work in Medieval 2, because everyone who's mustering together gets their movement points sapped away by the enemy's presence, and that means you can't give an attack order because you do need movement points to be able to attack someone in the tile next to you. Therefore, the plan was a complete failure. I could have recovered it right now by just sending some cav to attack the group outside the town and got the battle going that way. But for whatever reason, I just didn't think of that at the time and just gave up on the project entirely. I happened across, though, a more interesting project. There's also a siege draw-out setup going on at Xia Pi, Liu Bei's capital, and over the last few turns I've been building up, or rebuilding up, the army that died the last time I tried to do a siege draw-out at Xia Pi, so now it's time to try again. We've got something like a full stack if our reinforcements are included, and the enemy do as well, but their army is split up in 2 groups, giving us a bit of an advantage. They've got plenty of high quality troops leveled up and upgraded as well, plus they're commanded by Liu Bei, who is a very good officer with a gigantic bodyguard. The enemy reinforcements came onto the field pretty close to where I'd deployed, which makes it less likely that I'll be able to defeat the first group and then deal with the second group entirely separately, but it wasn't an enormous issue because of the fact that the enemy's first and second groups were moving to unite rather than moving to attack me as the battle started, so I wasn't just totally outflanked, and my archers could have fun shooting at the enemy's first group without taking much return fire. You can see the AI has ended up controlling my reinforcements even though I said that I should do it in the battle initiation. It's because I saved the game, which for some reason resets your AI choice at the start of the battle. So now we've learned a lesson from that, at least. Some cavalry come in to challenge our archers at last. I'm going for the runaway, but my formation happens to really favour me being hit, because some of my men were really far in front of the line for whatever reason, and we do lose a load of archers to that cav charge before my spears get in there. Another unit's trying to go around my left, but I've got loads of cav sitting here myself, so we'll just block the enemy, then send some spears in behind those cav to take them out. In the fight On the right, we are able to take out the leader of the enemy's first army, so that's going to speed things up, but elements of the second army are already arriving, so it is going to be a continuous battle here. We'll just do what we can. We've got lots of light cavalry, so I mostly just need to focus on microing down all of the enemy's archers to get rid of them, and rear attacking enemy melee units. You can see Liu Bei sneaking in from the right with his gleaming white armoured cavalry units and coming into the flank of my light cav, which isn't all that good. We are going to be trying to focus down Liu Bei in this fight, because whatever happens, even if we can't do the siege draw out, if we can kill Liu Bei, even if we then lost the battle, that would still be a gigantic result. He's just ploughing through my men, and I'm happy to see that. My light cav need to get out of the way, and I'm going to order all of my spears to try and focus down Liu Bei. Now that he's in melee, we'll send a couple of units to go and surround him, and then things will all be good. His melee units are also arriving to start some fights that won't really favour us. His melee units are better than mine, but we have the numbers on our side, so it's all down to my micro to see how that's going to go. Liu Bei does get taken out amid our sea of spearmen. A bush annoyingly blocked our view of it, but it's done. The enemy faction leader is taken down, and because their faction was almost a cult of personality around Liu Bei's claim to the throne, that's surely going to be a big blow for them. You can see the fight's just a huge mess here. Neither side has positioning advantage, and if I could just get my cav in to sort things out, we'd be fine, but the cav are all very busy right now, microing all over the place. And as I said, it's my micro that's holding us back here. I've got lots of units that are constantly waiting around without orders while I'm trying to sort things out. One of the things I was trying to do in particular was keep our commander Zhang Ba away from death. You can see he lost a lot of bodyguards on his unit card, and he lost most of them to this guy, the other enemy officer with some missile cav, who was surprisingly good in melee. And as we see, they are escaping the battle right now. The officer's still alive, and that means the siege draw-out will now not be possible. As for the rest of the fight, the messy melees that we left behind are eventually concluded as everything starts to rout and my cavalry return to oversee things. I'm going to chase these units down, because even though the siege draw-out has failed, if we can annihilate everything that was part of the enemy's second army, what we may be left with is a regular siege that's really easy, if only a few guys are actually inside the town. Once we're sorted with that, here's the result. We somehow got a heroic victory. I thought it wasn't actually that good looking at the numbers and how easy it was supposed to be given the balance bar, but fine, I'll take that. But yes, we didn't get the siege draw-out exploit that we wanted. A few men got back inside the city, less than 100, but it was that enemy officer and 2 infantry units somehow got in there as well. Not sure how they quite managed that. At least we can just do this. We've got the movement points to immediately start a siege on the city, and with not very much inside, we'll be guaranteed to take it as long as the Liu clan doesn't just swarm us with everything and try to push us back away from the capital, in which case having our army be all beaten up from that last fight might be a problem, especially when it comes to melee units. We're deploying a new army out of our core at Jiying and Puyang. This army's first job is to take down the rebels near Chenliu. That's no problem, we'll just auto-resolve them to death, and there we go. Chenliu looks just about stable without any further reinforcement, so this army can now continue on to the south to press more against the Cao clan. There's a lightly defended town down there, so might as well go get it. Our main force in the area, still at Xu Chang, can't really move on, as I said, because of public order. We're going to sit here for a couple more turns before I move out, since if I do move out I want to do it in force and go and storm another walled settlement to really disable the Cao clan's ability to recruit things. Let's see if the Liu clan try to stop me from besieging their capital. They move an army as if they were about to do that, but then they don't. Nothing else happens. There you can see Qingzhou are still wandering around in their territory. It looks like they were going to make a move that would allow Hao Meng to escape from his hidden position, but unfortunately the border does remain heavily patrolled. I can't get out without trespassing a load more and screwing up our relationship, so Hao Meng will remain stuck in the forest. Now, in the start of the next turn, I just about had the movement points to get this siege going at Qinshan. Not much inside, so we're guaranteed to win, basically. There's not enough Cao stuff around to challenge us, even if they coalesced everything to go and push us away there, so we should get that eventually. At Jiangchun, We didn't see any attacks or any punishment for us getting stuck in the enemy zone of control, and now we actually could go ahead and try the siege draw out. The only thing is, both the enemy armies are pretty decent and we'd end up with a difficult fight to get this draw out, and it's not really worth it for somewhere that's not especially significant. So we're going to do this Sun Tzu style and only fight when we're guaranteed to win and try to stay away from the enemy's most powerful positions. What I wanted to do is stay in enemy territory to see if it would bait the AI into attacking me, but also move what fresh troops I had to a hidden position next to my army so we could have some kind of an ambush here where the enemy would attack us and we'd have some extra reinforcements to help us out. Plus we'd be on the defensive and we could use our siege weapons to hit the enemy as they approach. So that's the plan there. Back over at Xia Pi, now is the time. That one group that they moved over isn't close enough to actually help out with the siege. I'm guessing the AI was planning to attack us, but for whatever reason, it didn't. This is an auto-resolve that we've got left with here. I was hesitant to actually do it because our commander really sucks at sieges, whereas the enemy commander's really good. But in the end it was fine, we did lose more than they did, but for a siege attack that's to be expected. We ransomed back a couple of captive archers or something, and there we have it. We now control Liu Bei's capital. Well, not Liu Bei's capital because he's dead, the Liu clan's capital. Both of our main enemies right now are in trouble. It looks like Liu Bei wasn't managing this place very well. It's got extreme squalor, the population's in decline, they're either dying or leaving. It seems the food supply hasn't been sorted out. He was very much mismanaging this place, so now we can swoop in and show the people what it's really like to live in a properly run part of the country, and maybe they'll be happy with it. We'll need to convert them away from revivalism. They need to not want a member of the Liu clan to rule China anymore, but we can recruit guys to do that for us. Now I also want to attack up and right to get rid of this little stronghold that we've seen a couple of times so far. This is the place where Guan Yu, the man later called the God of War, is hanging out, so it would be nice to bring him down. His army's okay and my army's not very good really. We're probably about equal overall. But we can just leave the siege going. There's no pressure to actually take that place up there, so we'll just see what the enemy do. The Liu clan don't have any answer for our capture of Xia Pi. Their forces are just falling back all over the place. They're becoming passive with the loss of their leader and the loss of their income presumably as well. The army that was outside Jiangchun has moved over to the east, so now our army is just going to go in for a traditional siege. Would be a difficult attack, we'd lose a lot of men taking it, but again, we've got time on our side, we can just siege them out normally. I'm hoping that from here, our momentum will carry us forwards to defeat both the Cao and the Liu clans.